Hi y'all, this is Russ White at Rule11.tech, where culture eats technology for breakfast. Today I want to tell you a story. Well, I hope it's not a bedtime story. I hope I don't put you to sleep telling you this story. It's a story that my grandfather used to tell me, and it's pretty important in today's world. He tells a story about a friend of his who woke up one morning around 6 or 7. My grandfather was a county agent, so he worked a lot with farmers. This farmer friend of his got up at 6 or 7 in the morning and went out to pitch some hay down to his donkeys to get them fed for the day. He got out there and pitched a little bit of hay and then realized that the head of the pitchfork felt like it was going to fall off. So he started looking at it and realized that certainly enough, the head of the pitchfork was really loose. So rather than continuing to pitch hay and possibly lose the head of that pitchfork, he went down to his shop and took a look at what was going on. He realized there was a little screw there that needed to be replaced in order to fix the head onto the handle a little bit better. So he started looking around his shop and looking for a similar screw. He discovered that he really didn't have one, so that meant he would need to go to town. So he jumped in his pickup truck and ran to town. He got into town and he went to the hardware store. He spent a lot of time talking to the folks in the hardware store about affixing pitchfork heads to pitchfork handles and thinking through the best way to prevent this from happening again in the future. When he finished and he finally gotten the pieces he needed, he looked down at his watch and he realized it was just about lunchtime. So he went over to the local restaurant and he sat there and ordered some lunch, met some people he knew and chatted for a little bit. And then as he was sitting there eating lunch and talking to people, he realized that the barber shop was just across the street. And he thought, I really need to get my hair cut. So he ran out of the restaurant and he ran across the street to the barber shop. While he was waiting in line at the barber shop, he played some checkers with some of his friends that were sitting there at some tables sitting outside the barber shop. He sat there for a little bit. The barber walked out, called his name. He got his hair cut. Then he went back outside to finish the game of checkers and played just a couple of more. When he finally got back to the house, it was just about dinner time. He sat down to dinner and thought, I never did pitch that hay to those donkeys. They might be hungry about now, but I still have to fix that pitchfork, and that's going to have to wait till in the morning. So he ate his dinner, went to bed, and pitched the hay the next morning after he spent some time fixing that pitchfork. So there it is, a complete day wasted, essentially. Started out on a very simple task, just pitching some hay to some donkeys. Ended up going to town, eating lunch, getting a haircut, playing some checkers, and not even getting the original task done. So what's the moral of this story? In the networking world, we spend an awful lot of time thinking about time management. And I will tell you that time management is very important. I always go by the Royal Navy's perspective, which I learned by reading some old books about the sailors, which is waste not a moment. But time management is not the only thing that's important in life. We spend a lot of time building to-do lists, and we do this whole magical unicorn thing with Inbox Zero. Look, I've never gotten to Inbox Zero since 1996, and I don't really see how I ever could. Generally, when I get to Inbox Zero, it just means that I've pushed my email to another folder, which still has not reduced the amount of work I actually need to do. We try to take speed reading classes. We do all sorts of time tricks. And I'm not saying those aren't valuable. Time management is a big deal, but maybe we focus on time management too much. In reality, maybe the harder problem is managing our attention. Our world is very, very distraction driven. Social media, for example, is a huge distractor. Ethan Banks was talking about this on his blog very recently and talking about how social media is effectively shouting into the wind. I really like that. Shouting into the wind. No one really hears you on social media. It's a great way just to keep up with short little things that are going on. But for longer format, more in-depth, interesting stuff, social media doesn't pay the bills. Advertising. Our world is chock full of advertising. And if you do anything with web design or you do anything in the advertising world, you're going to hear this phrase, the call to action, all the time. The idea is that you need to get the person on the other side of the advertisement to pay attention, to become emotionally invested, and to take action. That means that advertisement is explicitly designed to be a distraction. Another major problem we have in the networking world is we have a huge issue with the fear of missing out. And this is a huge distractor. Yeah, I know there's always a new product. There's always something new, some new protocol, some new standard, something new going on. And those new things are things we feel like we need to keep up with if we're going to keep from missing out on something really important. So the point is this, you can manage your time all you want to, but if you don't manage your attention, managing your time is worse than useless. You need to manage your attention and your time, but you need to focus on managing your attention, what you pay attention to. What should you focus on? You should, of course, focus on your short-term and long-term goals. This is where to-do lists really are useful. Of course, I wish my to-do application had the ability to say, you know what? After 6 months, if it's rated below a 3 out of 5 or something like that, it's never going to get done. Just take it off the to-do list automatically. But do focus on the shape of your knowledge and the real goals in your life. Keeping your eye on the larger goal will help you not get distracted by things like being afraid of being left out. Don't focus on being left out. We're all left out of something. As much as I read, as much as I pay attention, I'm still left out of an awful lot of things in this world. Another thing we tend to think a lot about is, will I get credit? If I do all of this work and I build this huge project, am I going to get credit? I will tell you a secret. After 30 years in the networking industry, I can never remember once when I have fully gotten credit for all the work that I've done. And in the long run, I'll tell you another secret. It hasn't really mattered. If I focus, or if you focus on getting credit, you're taking your eye off of what you really need to focus on, which is getting things done. You cannot focus on getting credit and getting things done at the same time. It doesn't work. There's a saying we have in the IETF. It's amazing how much can get done if nobody cares who gets credit. Really think about that and think about how that could apply to your life. Another thing is, will I get blamed? Well, of course you're going to get blamed. People make mistakes. Things happen. You can't pay attention to everything all the time. So therefore, there are going to be times when you are going to miss the ball and you are going to be blamed for something bad. But let me tell you another little secret. It's important to fix the problem instead of fixing the blame. So there are tools and skills that will help. To-do lists do help you focus if they're used correctly. Consuming information faster is important. Learning to pay attention when the environment is trying to consume your attention is really important. But attention is the key. Paying attention, not just saving time. Managing your attention, not just managing your time. Anyway, if you've watched this far, thanks for paying attention to my video, and come back to Rule 11 for more great content